This episode is brought to you by Pella Northland, Manomin Resawn Timbers, and Adaptive.
I don't know if the Scout Guide is viewed as a big competitor or contender in the marketplace. Why, I don't know, because we are, and we are here, and we are here to stay.
Welcome to the Curious Builder Podcast. I'm Mark Williams, your host. Today I'm joined with Kate Grutzmacher, the owner of the Scout Guide of Minneapolis and the president of Cities Management. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you very much.
I'm excited to have you in here. Today, as you know, as you've witnessed as you've walked in, this is our last podcast at this building. This building's going to be torn down. So you are, instead of the inaugural, I don't know it's not the final, but it's kind of like this celebratory period of time. So
I feel very special.
Yep. You're the bookend of this chapter
right.
you're like the last chapter before we go to book 2 of our series.
Perfect.
So, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do, and we'll kind of go from there.
Wonderful. So my name's Kate. I am the owner of the Scout Guide Minneapolis, which is a local publication that supports all small business in the community. And it's a part of a larger franchise. We're in, my goodness, I think 85 different markets at the moment and growing very fast. And it's really just all about community. It's about supporting and celebrating the stories and the painstaking effort that it takes for a small business to be successful.
That's true.
And it is very true. And it's about the community. It's about supporting one another. It's about creating a cohesive network that supports one another. And it also offers a very holistic opportunity for marketing and advertising for a small business. Mm-hmm. It touches all the important pillars of marketing. So, it has an editorial component, and it has a print publication component. It has a social media component, and then it also has that networking capability between member to member.
I remember, so we're recording right now in Linden Hills, so kind of in the 50th and France area for those listening. And kind of, especially around Christmas time, there's the boutique shops around here specifically. And I remember coming across your Scout Guide, maybe, it was before you owned it. We'll talk about that in a minute. And I remember seeing it and I was like, this is one impressive piece of marketing. I love marketing and the way you hold it, the way you feel it. It's very tangible. It's very heavy. The card stock, I mean, you would know the more specifics. I just know as a consumer, I was like, what is this? I wanted to pick it up. It's a little bit larger than like, a travel notebook, if you will, in my memory. And I just remember my first impression on it, seeing it was bold photos, big photos. And, I often give credit to Apple. I don't think they're the ones that created it. But like when I think of Apple's marketing, which they do such a good job with from their packaging to it's just very clean, very simple, big pictures, big things versus it cluttered with a bunch of words. And so I often think of your publications along those lines.
It is. It's intended to look very high, I don't even know the word, just elevated or very exclusive as well. We're really limited as well by the binding of the book. So we can't have a ton of businesses. So it's, there's a level of exclusivity to it. And it's intended to be a keepsake, right? It's intended to be a coffee table book. It's intended to last the test of time. And they're beautiful. So it's a beautiful product.
I'd like to go into some of the details of publishing. And, for those out there that are listening, this is mostly a construction podcast, but you kind of navigate this world. It seems like a large portion of your clients happen to be builders, real estate, just because home building is such a large segment of, really the United States' business, spiderweb of businesses. It seems it's no wonder that it's all over your book as well. But I'd like to back up for just a minute and talk a little bit about, you had mentioned it's in 85 cities or territories. So is it only in the United States or is it beyond the U.S. right now?
It's currently only in the United States today.
So then obviously there's multiple markets within a state. Minnesota, I would imagine, has probably only one.
It does. For now, it has one. They've done some market research, and there is some opportunity for maybe if you go up the North Shore to like Duluth, and you get into a little bit more difficulty when you have more of a like vacation or that kind of market, seasonal market.
Yeah.
The business space isn't necessarily always there, but it does work in some cases. Like we have a market in Aspen, which is a very seasonal market as well, and some in Florida. There's a lot in Texas because Texas is so huge.
Huge, yeah, big, interesting. And what is it about? I can say as from a consumer standpoint, I like how it reads. What is it that attracts businesses to it? Or what have you found that businesses like about it? Because you mentioned it's exclusive, because I imagine there's only, 2 builders, walk us through, how do you select who is allowed even in the publication?
Sure. So we really try to limit the categories. And so in any given category or industry, we really try to do 3 of businesses within that category. We don't want to be oversaturated in one category and not be able to feature the diversity of what Minneapolis has to offer. So and we also need to make sure there are some businesses that just don't align with our initiatives from a community-based program. We, again, are really interested in diversifying our client base to really demonstrate that it's not just high-end builders or interior decorators. There are a lot of other businesses out there that deserve a spot in that book. And it really is important for us at Scout Guide Minneapolis to show the vast diversity of what Minneapolis has to offer, from hospitality and restaurants and, the trades, and even, just product-based boutiques. And there's just so much to offer here. And I think people just in general don't understand the beauty of Minnesota and Minneapolis. The weather is not always great, but we have so much to offer, and we have so many wonderful things that people have no clue about. I tell people all the time, outside of Minneapolis, we're the hidden gem. It's the cost of living is wonderful. The school system is amazing. Public school system is amazing. There's a lot to do. There's a lot of activities from outside, the parks, the trails. So it's really important to us to show the diversity of the community, though.
Is it, and I'm just taking the name here, I haven't put a lot of thought into this other than I hear Scout Guide, and I think of almost like the military, you're a scout, and you're out to scout, I guess, enemy territory. You're supposed to scout the terrain. And then, of course, a guide is someone that's giving you a guided tour. Let's say I just recently was, overseas, and, we got a tour of the Vatican and of Rome. And so, obviously someone who knows the area can give you a nuanced approach of what you're seeing. Is that where the name comes from?
Yeah. It's, and when we are out, sourcing new clients or opportunities, we always say Scouts out and about. So yeah, it is. And it's intended to be a tool when you do travel. So if you do go to, Naples, or you go, right. So you can go to the website and you can look and you can say, oh, here's a restaurant, or here's a great place to stay. And there's a lot of connectivity market to market from there.
I hadn't considered that. That's great. Being in 85 territories, right. Now you can kind of go anywhere and it's going to spread out. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What is, when people are, I guess, who is the intended reader when they read this? Is this anyone is this located then in stores? Do people subscribe to it? Do they buy it? I guess, how are people finding this Scout Guide?
So we, anyone that has a brick and mortar, we always encourage our clients to have them in their brick and mortars. We also have, we're committed this volume to print 20,000 volumes. 10,000 of those volumes are direct mail. So our clients we're able to really refine where their prospect client base is coming from. Do we need, we can isolate price points of homes. We can isolate zip codes. So we can do a lot of direct mail. So the guide actually shows up in a beautiful cellophane, clear envelope with a cut sheet and in their mailbox. So it's a great tool for a small business. Also, the expense of it, that direct mail expense is our burden. So the client doesn't have to, invest more from a direct mail campaign.
And because it's so high quality, people aren't given to throw it away. That's kind of the whole point. Is it stays, and it issues once a year or twice a year?
Once a year.
Okay.
So we launch every year in October.
Yep.
Yep.
And is that, I assumed with retail, which is I'm guessing where some of this has been, I assume they're kind of from red to black, is obviously November, December, around the holidays. Is that kind of the thought process that, hey, I want this book out before the holiday crush? And okay.
Yeah, we get to capitalize on the season for sure. And with having an October launch, because of our seasons, we want to be able to shoot or give our clients an option to shoot in the summer months as well. So right now we're publishing we're just closing our sales for October, for our October launch. We have, probably a month or so left of photo shoots, and then we're done. And then we go into soft proof
Okay. Interesting. How does, and I meant to ask this a little bit earlier, so I guess I'll ask it now. So is it a franchise?
It is.
And you bought it a year ago, is that right?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
What now? We'll talk a little bit later in the podcast about your other career. You're a woman of many businesses. How do, I guess, what attracted you to the Scout Guide? How was it on your radar? And walk us through that evolution of buying a business, because I think that's interesting.
Yeah, well, it was not a planned thing at all. It came to me. I wanted to advertise for my primary business. It touches the client base that I absolutely wanted. I'm attacking, and that's a rough word, but generally, targeting is a better word, right?
Is it?
I don't know, but it really speaks to the clientele that I'm really pursuing. Not to mention, it aligns exactly with a boutique, high end, exclusive, feeling that it feels special. It feels special, yeah. And so it was. I had reached out to the former editor trying to advertise, and she was on her. She was really looking to sell, and she was kind of she was done. It's a big lift to do what we do, and we are a small but mighty team. But so it just kind of fell in my lap, and then one thing led to another, and I was like, well, let's do this.
Do it.
It sounds like fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
How, from a logistical standpoint, was there a team already in place, or did you use your existing business's team to help? Walk us through how you manage this.
Yeah. So no, there wasn't an existing team, and we revamped everything. So we revamped the way that we deliver service, the way the client understands the expectation of the deliverables on our end. We're very strategic about the social media messaging. We built this team with a thought process that it takes many to make sure that we're delivering and we're doing our clients a good service. And even though, while it's a very affordable offering for a small business, it's still quite a bit of money. And so we want to make sure that we create that value for the client, and we can help the client. We're a small business as well, so it's a mutual beneficial partnership for sure. So. I have two primary other contributors to the Scout Guide. I have Natalie Fox, who is our associate editor and our social media strategist. So that's her business. That's what she's done. She's an expert in it. So she'll step in and she'll meet with the client. She'll learn what's your initiative, where do you want to see your biggest growth? What's your biggest opportunity? We learn your story. And then we make sure that we're positioning that client online to meet their needs, but also meet the needs of our followers, right? So making sure that it's in a lens and in a tone that our followers and the people that enjoy what we do at the Scout Guide, it's coming from that same voice as well. And that's a very balancing act, and it's wonderful. And Natalie is probably one of the most skilled professionals in that regard. Clients adore her. And then we have a creative director. Her name is Selena. And Selena steps in and she helps from a creative direction. So sometimes, when you're looking at a photo shoot and clients are like, I have to be in, like, I have to get my picture taken.
Some people love a camera. Some people hate it.
You're right. I'm one of the people that do not necessarily enjoy to be forward facing in the camera. But so we, Selena will step in and, she'll also do that deep dive with the client, but then create a really creative opportunity for that photo to tell the story of the business. And it's some of the things she comes up with, it amazes me. I
agree. She's actually sitting outside watching right now, and you are an amazing talent. I mean, I've seen some of your stuff for last year, because obviously we are going to be in the Scout Guide.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at both from the Curious Builder as well as for Mark T. Williams Custom Homes. And, obviously my own personality is all over both companies, but I'm looking at some of the other businesses, and it's just like, I see some of the ideas that you can, and it's just like, it's what gravitates me towards your publication. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily for me and me only. It's not necessarily who's in it, but it's the way they're represented, to your point. And like, I have a great affinity for art and for artists. I don't feel very talented in that regard, but I really love watching that process happen. And like, even an architect, I love, I mean, obviously I'm a home builder, so I'm dangerous in that department, but I can't draw the plans. I can't do what my interior designers do, but I love watching it unfold. And it's like, I'm as excited as the client seeing this be unfolded. It's like they have two clients and we're both reacting very positively to these first looks. So when I see your guys' proofs and I see some of the stuff that you're creating, I'm like, oh, this is amazing. It's amazing. It's very well done.
It's amazing. And it's we had every intention for volume 6. So volume 6 is the first volume that our team is producing. We had a really great vision, and I think we'll get there. I just don't think we're there yet, to do more creative and be a little bit more edgy in the creative sense. But that's an evolution with the client, right? So the first one needs to be a little bit more, I don't want to say conservative, but doesn't have that strong artistic flair like we would like to, So when we purchased the Scout Guide, Selena took a ton of time, and she built the book backwards. So she went and looked at all of these, this imagery, and looked all over. And then she chose photographs and things that we want to copy or emulate in some way, shape, or form. So then, she'll say, go find me a butcher. Or,
that's a good idea. So you have an idea of what you want the book to look like and how to gravitate towards the person, so you can obviously have the buyer.
Right.
And you're saying, hey, I need a butcher.
Right.
Because I have this great idea of that's clever.
Yeah, it was. Okay. And it worked well in some cases. And then in others, we're just getting established, right? So we're really working to help gain that credibility with these new clients. The majority of our clients for volume 6 are not any clients that have ever been in the Scout Guide previously.
I'm one of them.
Exactly.
2 of them, actually.
I know. So that's really exciting for us. We had a couple of our, Martin Patrick 3 is one of our staples. They are with us again, but I think we only had 2 or 3 renewals this year, which is great for us, because then we were able to really establish. We're able to kind of reposition that brand for the future.
Yeah. I like that a lot. Interesting. Why have other publications, out of curiosity, been slow to adopt that model? Or not, shouldn't say that model, but why? I mean, it's easy to say, hey, go be more creative. That's a hard thing to actually do. It's easier to say. But I mean, I assume that other publicators would see what you do and be like, wow. I mean, we have what we do. Maybe we have a bigger distribution network or whatever it is that they're pinning them on. Because I assume, like all of us, look at other builders. What do they do well? What can I adopt? We're always looking at our peers in the industry, and even outside our industry. What can we adopt into our own to make ourselves better? I feel like you guys have such a strong niche in this. Why do you think other publications haven't adopted some of your techniques?
I think that, one, I don't know if the Scout Guide is viewed as a big competitor or contender in the marketplace. Why, I don't know, because we are here, and we are here to stay. But you look at some of the other competitors within our market, and they all have wonderful service offerings, but they're very different, right? It's not a one-time publication. It's a frequency, they're monthly or quarterly. So it's just different.
So it's just different.
It's just different.
I see. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's just different. And I think there is a space for everyone. And I also, I encourage our competitors, to be able to collaborate. And I think there's opportunity for co-marketing and co-sharing. We're not there yet, but I really do believe we speak to in 2 different lenses and to 2 different, sometimes, clients. Why not capitalize on both of those together and make us even stronger? So the competition to me is not competition. It is, we all serve
peers that we all support each other.
Yeah. And that's how we'll all be successful.
Right. I completely agree with that. I'd be curious to see how things go forward, because I don't often see multiple publications. I don't know even what that would look like. I think I would love to see how that transforms, because that'd be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be so. And then every year we do, we have a color. There's a color theme. Right. So,
across the country for all 85 markets, or Minneapolis?
Just Minneapolis. So every market has a different color theme every year, and it's a big deal. And we really, we play on that every year. So this year it was green, and I can explain a little bit why we arrived in the green cover. And next year I'm not going to announce it. Selena's in the corner going, no, don't do it. But it's going to be really, really, really neat. So we have our color of our volumes will be launched at our Polo Classic event that we hold every year. So that will be kind of the unveiling of the next volumes.
Tell me about that.
The the Polo Classic, it is such a near and dear thing to us. And I get a little bit emotional because it's just a great, great cause. It's an amazing foundation. So the Polo Classic is an event that's held the first weekend in August. And it's one of the primary fundraising sources for a foundation called This Old Horse. And what this Old Horse does is it takes, horses, whether they're race horses or work horses, and they repurpose them and they give them quality of life till the end of their life. And it's just an amazing thing. And it's dear to me because my stepdaughter Stella is she rides, she jumps horses. That's her passion. She'll either be a vet or she'll do something in this world. And so it's an amazing event. It's a very it's held in Maple Plain. It's just a fun day, and not many people even know about it, which is amazing to me. So,
I'm from the western side, so I think I've seen it once, but I haven't thought to go back. And I don't know, do they have regular polo events or not?
The polo field, no, they really don't. They do some facility training stuff, but this is their big event on this polo field. So it's
I would love to go. I'm actually going to be out of town for a wedding that weekend. Well, I just wrote it down because I would love to go, but maybe I'll have some of our team go.
You should. You guys will get. So we host a large client tent, so that's one of our networking events as well. And then we're the official media sponsor this year. So we're helping with, all the push out of the social media and the content. And Martin Patrick III is one of the partners for this project as well. So it's a great event. It's for a great cause. It's a great afternoon. And it literally is. I think about it. We all know Pretty Woman, right? So like the movie Pretty Woman, and when they were at the polo event and they're out doing the divot stomp, and it's literally like that.
She had the big hat.
Yeah,
and her dress was like what, red with white dots or white with red dots? See?
Yeah.
Thanks, Julia Roberts.
Thank you.
Informed my childhood.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
That's about all I know about polo.
Yeah.
I actually played water polo, so I was going to be, until you mentioned horses, the joke was that, no horses were drowned in our matches. So there's no seahorses. But anyway, I wish they would have more polo events because I think it would actually be kind of fun. I have young children, so I think it would just be fun. We actually had horses growing up as kids. And my dad he actually did the horse and hunt where he would, chase the fox, and which is hilarious because I don't know, it just seems like that was something that happened 300 years ago in medieval England, not in Western Minnesota. Right. But I know a lot of our homes that we build are out in Medina, Independence, Maple Plain, and you see these beautiful estates, and there's a lot of horses out there.
There is. We have some exciting things coming. So for next year, we also are adding another component. And it's with another foundation. So Folds of Honor, which is a veteran-based Folds, yeah. And so we're in discussions with them as well to hold their summer concert series on the polo field and capitalize a little bit on there's tents, and so that we couldn't pull it together this year. But so last year, I think the artist was Lee Bryce. This year, I do not recall the artist, but so it's usually a big headliner, and so they're looking for a larger space to host more people, and the polo field can hold up to 1,800, 2,000 people. So that'll be an exciting thing. It won't be the same weekend of the Polo Classic; it would be the weekend prior or after, but. More to come on that one. That'll be fun.
That's interesting. I think we're the Curious Builder. Actually, I'm not sure if this will air before or after our live event, but I just love live events. I love capturing a bunch of people together. Yeah. And so like last year, what were some of the things that you learned? Because you had this foundation last year with the polo match or not?
We just had a tent. So that was our networking, one of our member events. And
so you have a much bigger role this year.
This year we do. Yep. So when we take on some of these events, so we do the Polo Classic, and then we also worked with the Sané Foundation this winter for the Gala for Goals. And so what our whole plan with the way that when we take on events or we're contributors to an event like that or a foundation, the first year for us is a learning year. So we want to learn the ins and outs, what's working, what's not, how can we help, where can we really contribute, how can we add value. It's not a winning model to take over a big production and not know anything about it, right? So we want to learn the first year, and then the subsequent years we play a much larger role. So this is year 2 for us for Polo Classic.
It's almost like an apprenticeship before you become a journeyman. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Pella Northland. For 19.5 years, I've been building homes, and 95% of all of my homes have used Pella windows. I couldn't be happier to call them a partner in our builds and our remodels. Whether you're an architect, a designer or a remodeler, I'd highly recommend Pella windows. They can fit old homes, new homes, reclaimed, commercial, and really everything in between. Pella is a company that we trust and that we recommend to our clients. Additionally, in management, Peter and Ed have just been absolute fantastic people to work with, as well as mentors to me personally. So when it comes time to look for a window, I'd highly recommend Pella windows. Find more at PellaNorthland.com. Also, if you're interested, you can hear episode 1 where I interview Peter and Ed together for a great listen on business and Pella windows. I wish more people would do that. That seems actually a good. I know we do that in some of our committees with Minnesota Housing First. They'll have you on a committee, on a board, then you become, maybe treasurer, vice president, and president. So there's definitely a path sort of to success, I guess, or to leadership. Well, what else? What haven't I asked about the Scout Guide that would you like to share, or that has kind of a unique vibe to it? Because you think.
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, it's intended to be a very positive experience. It's fun. It kind of pushes the comfort limits when you have to be in front of the camera and you're taking pictures of yourself. And I think, this year again, for our first volume, we learned a lot, right? We learned some things that, we maybe wouldn't do again, and some things that we're going to change for next year. And one of the things we're going to change for next year, which is really fun, and you're going to love this too, because it's, there's so much opportunity. We have a very large following on Instagram and social media. And so we're gonna use influencer marketing. So more so next year. So, you'll see a lot more next year, social media wise. I'll be with the client and we'll be experiencing things with the client and then pushing that content, the reels and the still images out with the client and helping them grow. And then so I think it'll be, we're really excited about the opportunity to kind of really refine the way we deliver on the social media and the digital side.
So walk me through that. So we'll use me as a case study. So let's say the Curious Builder podcast. So we're going to be a client this year. I should know this, but I don't. So obviously I know the publication, which comes out, and the photo shoot, which we're lining up for now, will air in the book next October. Walk me through, do you do a series of posts, a number of posts? Is it once a quarter? Walk us through, because you have a number of clients. Right. How many clients would be in a said book? 100?
It could go, it could be up to 100, 115. Well, clients, no, it's pages.
Sure.
So, let's just use a round figure of 75 clients. So they get, there's a cadence of posting, right? So you can't post, you really shouldn't post on social media more than once a day, right? You don't want to capitalize and it kind of messes with the algorithms. So you want to, so they're very much scheduled. We only post when we know that our followers are online and engaged. We have those metrics. So next year, what we'll do is, let's just say the Curious Builder podcast. If you have a great, you have a scheduled podcast that you're going to be recording, or it's a live event, I'll be there and I'm going to take footage, and we're going to have maybe just a really quick impromptu, quick little question, 5 questions, what did you like about that? Or we'll have a fun, whatever. Right. And that is the most engaging content people will find interesting. Agreed. Right. And so we want to do more of that and really,
I think that's going to catch fire,
because
I mean, obviously we have a relationship. We can talk a little bit. I mean, I've known your husband since I was in grade school, and didn't realize that his wife was way more talented than him.
Don't know that.
Yeah, and you're a titan in the industry. But the point of it is I think it's really amazing what you're doing, because ultimately what it speaks to is your core value, which is the community, supporting, let's say, Minnesota businesses, which really right now that's what my podcast is also focused on. Is I'm interviewing just specifically anything to do in construction, but really it's Minnesota. I mean, we have so much talent here, and the craftsmanship and the people, and yes, I'm biased because I'm Minnesotan, but I don't know. I think they're great. And so I love the idea that you're kind of almost like their cheerleaders. You're almost, I'm only thinking of my kids signed up for soccer. So it's like you're soccer moms and dads. You're going to these businesses and you're their fans, right? You're going to be at our live event. You're going to be at our artisan home tour, and whatever your business, you could be a plumber, you could be a potter, you could be a real estate agent, you could be
a yoga studio. I'm going to do a yoga class. So one of our clients is, they do yoga retreats. And they also have an office or a studio here in the Twin Cities. And so for me, I'm not a yogi, right? I've never done it. And it's really intimidating because I don't know any of the poses. I don't know anything. Right. The last thing I want to do is go and sit with people that are 10-year people that know what they're doing, because I'm going to look like a fool. I don't do anything that I'm not good at. Right. So, they had a photo shoot yesterday. I was like, guys, why don't I come in and I'll do a beginner class and we'll get some footage and, let's co-market it. Let's try it. And they're like, let's do it, please. Because they haven't rebounded from COVID yet, right? They're not fully rebounded. Yeah. People are still have a level of fear for whatever reason. So I'm like, let's try it. I'll try it. I'll probably be really sore for a week, but I don't know. I'll try.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So they loved it. We're going to try that. We'll in the next couple of weeks.
It almost becomes, hence going back to the scout guide, it's like you're videotaping yourself as like a scout, going to these places.
And experiencing.
You're embodying your name of your company, which I really applaud. And I think that's really neat. Now, I suppose even was one of the reasons why you bought the company, I'm not going to say selfish, but like, it's got to be kind of fun to just go to all these places and try all these things and see all these businesses. I mean, do you find yourself being like Waldo, like wandering the streets and, looking at all these new businesses? Is that 100%. Very enjoyable?
And I absolutely. And I love people, right? And I love to hear the story and the evolution of how they came. The stories are what are so compelling to me. They're amazing. We have some clients that opened their business during COVID. Like, and some that managed through COVID and, or it's a family-owned business that's, 50 years old or whatever the case may be. The stories to me are like just impactful. And I really think that just in general, our community pre-COVID got to a point where those stories didn't necessarily matter anymore, but they are most important now, and people want to invest and reinvest in their community, and they really want to be rooted, and they want to feel like they've got someone that has their back.
Connections.
Right, those connections, right? That human to human, people are craving that. So that's what's fun to me. And these people, I love helping and I love supporting them. And connecting. Like there's so much opportunity. I'm sitting with people and I'm like, oh my gosh, you've got to meet so-and-so and I'm going to make this introduction. And I do. And the synergies that come from that are what makes me happy.
Do you have a story that you can share that's either a success story or a story that you just found very inspiring over the last year? Just, you mentioned some of these businesses that you've gone to where they've either started, during COVID or just kind of in a powerful story.
Oh my gosh. Well, I think one of our clients, it's six boutique or six, it's two moms. The reason the boutique's name is Six, they're in Excelsior. Jill and Bree are owners. They, initially were just going to do an e-commerce site. They had just a small little like warehouse. They did pop-up shops. And then the space came available in Excelsior. And
so
now
on Water Street?
It's not on Water Street, but this building came to be, and now they have this beautiful boutique and they're trying to drive traffic to them. And it's just, like that to me is a great success story. But then you look at, how can you help them? How do you drive traffic to them? How do you create that synergy? Another boutique in Long Lake called Gathered Goods, another great fun little spot, just kind of evolved, and she's doing great. And the story there is she's got clothing, amazing clothing, but she has a ton of jewelry and it's all from Haiti.
Oh, wow.
So she actually, her name is Tara, and I might get this wrong too, but she taught ASL in Haiti for years. And she got to know all these artisans in Haiti that create this beautiful jewelry. It's beautiful and not expensive, but beautiful, and just really what is in today. But it's supporting a local community in Haiti here in Long Lake, Minnesota. Like it's just that is an amazing just story too. And she's just a really good human.
And just so I have that right, so English or sign language?
Sign language.
Okay, sign
ASL.
language. Okay, yep. Okay, just wanted to make sure I got that right.
So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. So were the artisans she was buying from then, they were hearing impaired or deaf?
Some were, yeah.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful.
It's a really cool story.
Yeah.
My gosh, we have so many fun clients. We have a matchmaker.
Matchmaker, like making matches, or like getting people together? People together.
Okay. Like people together. She has a location here. She has one in Arizona and Florida. It's a family-owned business.
Really?
It's great. It's amazing. We have
so relationships like husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or like matchmakers, like businesses, like or everything.
No. This is like husband or dating and yeah. So
interesting. Obviously I'm familiar with like Match.com and some of the online stuff, but this is more of a custom boutique version of it.
So basically, she'll get to know you, and then she has clients that have said, I want to be matched with someone of a whatever, right? Yeah. And I think just today, in today's day and age, that for busy professionals, and she primarily serves like C-suite executives and above. But like that's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to get out there and put yourself out there certainly when you're a little bit older.
What I love hearing, I mean, you're obviously a female owner of multiple companies. You just mentioned 3 women that own their companies. I love the idea that we have so many women owning and feeling empowered to start a business and be successful.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned you, one of the things I want to talk to you about was, can you speak a little bit to, I think a lot of, and especially as being a man, I can't speak about this because I also don't know about it, but can you speak a little bit to what is, in your eyes, how is running a business as a woman different than a man? And number 2, are there any advantages? I mean, I can think of several, but what, from your point of view, what are some advantages of being a woman owning a business? Because I think, construction, we're going to bring this back to construction a little bit, is, I feel like our industry could use way more female-led construction companies, and the ones that are killing it. They're so good, because in the home building space, when I'm talking to a husband and a wife, most of the decisions are made by the wife. And so I just feel like there's so much opportunity in construction, and we've been very slow to change to have more female-led positions of power. And I don't know why that is, if there's a lack of interest, or if it's, I guess I can't speak to that because I don't know.
I think it's probably a lack in intimidation. It's definitely a male-driven industry, and it's a different way to approach things. It's right or wrong. I think that construction, and this plays into my day job, but I think it's just there aren't women out there that wake up and say, I want to run a construction company,
right.
We have architects, and of course everyone, there's women in every industry, but it's not prevalent yet. Right. Yep. It's super fun. It's super interesting. And you're right. It does have the opportunity to really connect on that human to human level, and really be able to compel clients and support clients through that very emotional process.
It's extremely emotional.
Building a home. And
let's be honest, women are way more empathetic than men at just baseline.
100%.
And I'm sure there's men out there that are very good. I'm not.
There are women there.
But and so I just feel like you're right, because building is so emotional.
It is.
And I think, just counseling a client. I mean, I made sure that like on our team, we have several women. Just I think it's really important. Plus, I just want a well-rounded team. And frankly, women are mostly better at pretty much everything.
Oh,
so, I mean, it's true. And so, I was a good friend of mine from Style and Structure. I just mentioned I feel like her whole team is women. It's not. She told me it's like 50-50. But it's always their social media profile. And it's just like, man, if you gave me 7 high-powered women, especially in the social media world, like you would just dominate. Like they're so. I mean, she's so good at what she does. And it's like, I'm just like, giving her that's just amazing. I want, come join my team, or maybe I'll join her team.
Yeah.
So it's great.
I mean, I think that just women in general have a lot to offer, right? They have a little bit more, I think from an organizational perspective even, and being able to be more proactive, and also from a multitasking perspective, we're forced to be able, to have to multitask and manage a house and manage children and then manage a career as well. And, you're like
at this point, what's one more ball? I've already been juggling 6.
Right. Exactly. It's just one more thing. And I don't, I definitely have frazzled days, make no mistake, but for the most part, it's, it is what it is. And we're charging forward, and you get it done. There's no time to feel sorry or whatever. Right.
Yep.
I've got 2 sick kids at home. You know what? Well, we got to deal.
Yep.
So.
This episode is brought to you by Manomin Resawn Timbers. Based out of Hugo, Minnesota, this talented family-owned business goes all around the country, taking down barns, reclaimed beams, and then repurposing them and putting that American spirit back into your homes, your commercial projects, your bars, your pubs. They've been in coffee shops. They've been all the way to New York and Ralph Lauren, to the homes in Minnesota that we build. I couldn't be more proud to call them a partner and a proud supporter of our show as well as our building. So whether you're an architect, a designer, or a builder, I highly recommend Manomin Resawn Timbers for any of your reclaimed wood uses. You can find out more about them at mrtimbers.com, as well as episode number 10, where we interview them on our podcast. This episode is brought to you by Adaptive. Adaptive is an AI software that helps you solve all your bill pay in the construction world. In construction, bill pay is quite messy. You get every single one of your subcontractors submitting different types of bills, different formats. This AI technology is able to take all that information, help you auto code it so that the days of endless hours of coding it into your software and into QuickBooks is now done much, much faster. Additionally, they're working on software that will help you with the draw process. So whether you're submitting it to a title company for payment or a client, with a click of a button, you can now initiate draws as well as tracking your lien waivers. It's been an absolute game changer for us. So if you're looking to speed up and save time, I'd highly recommend Adaptive. You can find out more about them at adaptive.build. Additionally, you can listen to Matt Calvano and I talk about their company in episode 15 on the Curious Builder podcast. Do you feel like, let's talk about your day job here, and maybe you can tell the audience what that is, because that is related to construction. So maybe before my next question, why don't you tell us a little bit about what that is?
Sure. So I'm the president of a company called Cities Management, and it's owned by Associa, which is the largest property management company in the world. And so in that role, I lead a team that manages homeowner associations. And then we also have a construction and maintenance side of the business as well. So we're a general contractor. We can do anything from, insurance claims to building a home, remodeling a home, anything of that nature as well. And then just, that onesie, twosie little maintenance stuff too. That
you do all the onesie 20.
We do
everything. Your gambit
everything.
Is like the entire.
We do everything. And in homeowner associations and managing homeowner associations, that's imperative, for the onesie twosie little things that, you don't want to call in a contractor to do, a gutter repair or something. So we have those, work order based technicians. And then we also have our big outfit.
Is it based out of Minnesota?
Associa is not. Associa is in Texas.
Okay.
The corporate headquarters are in Texas, but we have locations everywhere. And then, but Cities obviously is our offices in the Northeast. We're local. We really pride ourselves at Cities as a boutique offering. We can really customize a service plan for a client. And so, some of the bigger even though we're owned by the biggest property management company in the world, we are. We're like a little independent silo, right?
Gotcha.
So we manage everything on the daily. We have our own office. We manage our own team. We have a team of 65-ish employees. We manage about 235 associations. So by no means are we small, but we're intimate, and that's really what we want to stay with.
And that would be mostly, hence the name, would be Minnesota-based properties and things like that. How did you get into it?
I have been in the industry a really long time. I've been doing this 25 years.
Oh, wow.
I worked for another national firm for 12 years. And, I don't think anyone wakes up and says, I'm going into property management. It's just not a career that people would choose. But for me, raising a family, and it gave me the flexibility and that I could, still be very successful, but still go to the kids' choir concerts and volunteer in the classroom and do the things that were also very important on the home front. So it worked very well for me.
Did you kind of rise up through different ranks of, walk us through high level, just some of your maturation over 25 years to become president?
Yeah, I did. So I started out, I was a single mom, and I needed to go back into the workforce. And so I started out as just a portfolio manager. And then slowly grew, and then I was more like a crisis manager. I'd step in when an account was in trouble, and I'd work with the client and I'd fix it, and then I'd reposition it and turn it back over to the ops team. And then they approached me and said, "You want to try business development?" I was like, "Well, sure, I'll try it." I was the number one salesperson in the nation for 3 years standing, and then I kind of looked at the market share after those 3 wonderful years, and I was like, well, there's only about, let's just use round figures, $3 million of market share. Last year I sold 3.7. I'm going to price myself out of a job. So they approached me and they said, are you interested in M&A, mergers and acquisition? I was like, sure, I'll try it. I don't know, but I'll try it. Right. So I did a tuck under acquisition for them, and with great success. And then I led an urban team for the balance of my time there. And then I kind of had hit the ceiling. In property management, it's a pretty flat-lined organization. You've got just that mid-level management, and then you jump right to that VP and president level. And at the time, at that organization, the two, executives were principals of the company, and they weren't going to retire anytime soon. So there really just wasn't much opportunity for me to just.
And at that point, you felt like, hey, I've got a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And at this point, you've kind of gone through the ranks. You're like, what's next? So you've got to move.
Yeah. So I was approached by a multifamily owner operator on the rental side, and kind of jumped into that side of the business. So still property management, but on the rental side. And it's interesting to say that you don't really see that commingling often between the homeowner associations and the rental world.
Why is that?
It's just different. It's
just different businesses.
Just different businesses, different models, different service delivery models, different cadence, different just technical, different things. Different initiatives on the homeowner association side. You're preserving an asset. You're preserving someone's financial investment, their home, right? On the landlord side or the rental side, you're obviously you want to preserve the asset, but you want to do it as least expensive as you can because you have ownership that you have to provide distributions to. And, so it different initiatives, not wrong or right either way, just different. And so I'm such a customer centric, I'm a servant leader. That is just who I am to the core. And that's likely why I gravitate so much more to the homeowner association side, the homeowner ownership side versus the rental side. Now, I say that we have a rental division at Cities as well. So, it's a great opportunity for everyone, but my sweet spot is on that homeowner side.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. There's a quote that I saw in your bio that I really liked that it was your philosophy, and it says, you don't build a business, you empower people, and people build the business. Sure. I think that's a beautiful statement. Can you just explain a little bit how you came upon even that wording? Is that a quote? Is that something that how did that come to be? Because I think that's a really powerful statement, and it seems like you mentioned you're a servant leader. And so that even that comment alone kind of embodies this statement.
Yeah. I had impeccable training. Honestly, I really did. My former firm, I owe a lot of my success to them. And I get emotional because they invested in me as much as I invested in them. And they taught me that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Essentially caring about people. Shocker. If you care about people.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do. And it's something you have to practice. You really have to practice taking your emotion out of something and positioning any situation. And I'll tell you, in this side of the business, you get your tail handed to you. It's really tough. And even post-COVID, it's even more tough. And the labor force is even tougher. But it's really, honestly, it's the most unselfish position of with your employees and with your clients, and just putting yourself in their shoes and really going above and beyond always.
Mm-hmm. Just so I'm clear, you're speaking of how you lead with your people or with your clients?
Both.
Okay.
It's both the same approach. It's leading and coaching to their, homeowner associations and board of directors, they're all volunteers, right? So they sit on this board. They don't know. They don't know how to preserve an asset. They don't know the statutes. They don't know the laws. They don't know the requirements. And so we're in a position to teach them and lead them, right? And to deliver excellent service, but also coach them through those really difficult things and to take that burden off of them, because without them...
Because they're essentially, they're board of directors that are going to vote on, but you're the expert that's coming in saying, hey, here's the problem. You've got a $100 million building and, all your metal siding has been hit by a hailstorm or it's bad or whatever. Here's and then you kind of walk them through that.
Yeah. Or, you look at, I've done some amazing projects through the years, like one, North Star Lofts is a beautiful condominium building on the river. And it's an old converted blanket manufacturer. So it's North Star Blankets, which is was a really big outfit in the 20s, 30s.
Kind of like a Faribault? Would they be
kind of
that
like
famous?
Yeah, same thing. Yeah. And so they're beautiful condos, and the owners in that community are just they became my people, right? Yeah. And so they had a historic sign. They had two historic signs that were just they were getting to be incredibly dangerous. And this association, it's tiny, 30, I think there's 31 units in that association. And the rehabilitation for the sign was upwards of $1 million. And, yes, very affluent group of people, but if you spread out that much money over only a very small amount of units, that's really impactful to anyone. And so we looked at all options of how do we finance this? What do we do? We actually were able to get a grant that funded 50% of the rehabilitation
Really?
of the sign. And it was just a passion project. We tried it once. I learned how to navigate all the grant work, and we had some wonderful consultants as well too that taught us the way. But the first time we submitted, we failed. We didn't get it. And the second time we did. And it was just that to me, you're impacting.
Is that a government grant or a state grant?
It was a state grant.
Okay.
It was a state.
Through the government?
Through the government. Yeah. Yep. So we had to go and present at the Capitol, and
cool.
It was a great experience. It was fun, and but that again.
And they were probably really supportive and encouraging because it's. People tend to love to preserve history if they can, especially in a meaningful way. So.
Yeah. And we were able to rehabilitate the sign back to with LED lights, and so it's just. And every time I drive across the bridge of and I see that sign lit up at night, that is impactful to me. That's why I do what I do.
I think one thing I've never thought about in terms of, because I love to market, but I've never thought if you were someone who specializes in marketing, it must be extremely empowering when you help a company with marketing or restoration in this case, and then you see their business flourish, right? Because you would feel like, well, I've had a hand in that business being successful. Yes, they had a message, but we helped get that message out there. Or, that company did a great thing, but nobody knew who they were. So I've never thought about it from that standpoint. I've always pursued marketing in the sense that I want to tell my story and I want to sell me. Yeah. But I can see how both parties would feel very fulfilled in that arrangement.
It's really fun. It's really fun to see those success stories and see how your clients can really grow and flourish, and that whether you get the accolades or not, that you did play a part in that success story.
So this is interesting. So you've gone through, I don't want to necessarily call it corporate, but you've got through kind of big company. Yeah. You that's your day job evidently. Yeah. You have a 3-person team for the Scout Guide, which is kind of, I assume it's a lot bigger than a quote passion project, but you're passionate about it. So it's kind of how has this kind of fulfilled you in a different way from your other career? Are they kind of similar? Do you find any overlap between the two?
I find a lot of overlap. It's I didn't think I would. Yeah. I do though, but it's fulfilling in a different way. I think it's a bit of a release for me too. So in property management and running a business, obviously, there's a lot of, stress and challenges, and you have a lot of people counting on what you're doing. And, so I think for the Scout Guide, for me, it's a release. It's something that's really incredibly enjoyable. And I do feel like we have the ability to make such a great impact for the clients we serve and the community that we serve. It fulfills me. It fills my tank for sure.
Yeah, I like that. One thing, and keep it more from a business standpoint, because I think those listening would find this helpful. What are some lessons or things that you've learned, even like structuring a company? You have a small company and you're president of a 65-person company. Hiring and firing people is difficult at best. And walk us through just some things that you've learned over the years, both, and I don't know if you can compare them between, you're unique in the fact that I haven't had anyone on the podcast yet that is an owner of 2 businesses, one small and one big. So you're kind of a unique position to, contrast and compare the two. Yeah. What comparisons can you draw between the two in terms of just staffing and I guess just speak to people? Because regardless of what business you have, people is what empowers it, right?
Yeah, that's true. I think from a large organization perspective, it's hard right now. It's really, really hard. And my smaller company, Scout Guide, it's more intimate, and we're there's a very, very strong sense of family. And it's something that I really focus on emulating in the big company as well. And we reference it a lot at Cities, and we call it Cities Family. And we do a lot of culture shaping activities, and we try to do a lot of just mental health wellness because it is such a very, very difficult industry.
And why do you say that? You said, is it because it's a bigger company, like all companies that are big, or is it specific to what you're doing?
It's the industry. It's we only have so much control over the circumstances of what happens, right, on the daily, and or however, and we're humans, and a company run by humans, and humans sometimes make mistakes,
Yep.
and so it's tough. The climate right now, from a customer service perspective, is really, really difficult. People, the level of patience in just the general population is pretty non-existent. The level of expectation is jumped at an astronomical rate.
This is awesome. This is like a pie chart of like going the opposite
It's like
way.
this. It's like it's amazing. And then you have people that are living in their homes 80% more of the time. So they're seeing so much more. Not that those things aren't getting addressed, but they want this instant resolve. And it's impossible to consistently resolve issues or, things instantly when you're dealing with a volunteer board and, you have a portfolio manager that has 6 or 7 accounts in their book of business. Like the amount
and insurance. I mean, we're going through an insurance thing right now. And it's honestly like,
don't even get me started.
It's like herding cats. It's like, oh my word, it's difficult. And so I've got 4 different insurance companies all saying different things. And, I have a client who wants, some resolution, and I would too. I want resolution.
Yeah.
And it's taking months to get what I think should be a yes or no on stuff. And once you get one, then you've got to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can see now why, it's just a lot more time consuming and aggravating, especially if people's patience level is so low.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. We talk a lot about, and, we try to really instill the message too with the clients that finding a level of grace, right? And appreciation for what we do. And we don't do everything perfect. And I'm the first to say it. I think the difference between what we do at cities and others is that we own it if we make a mistake, right? And sometimes, I've definitely, in my span of my career, I've made pretty substantial mistakes, and they cost a lot of money.
Yep.
But that is just, if you're with the right company and you have they have the same value system as, that community or that board, they'll come to the table, and we do. And so, it's just that grace and understanding that if people don't start to find that grace for the people that are serving, we're not going to have the people that serve.
Yeah.
They're going to be non-existent because there's so many options out there today in that labor force that they don't need it. They don't want it.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, you hear some rumblings about, commercial stuff, long term, as a lot of these, as I think I understand it, is as the commercial valuations and loans reset on these big commercial buildings where there's nobody in them, the values will drop. It'll be very interesting to see how this trickles out in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
I don't know what the time frame of this is going to be. But
so we deliberately, my lease is up, my office lease is up for cities. It was last year, and we extended it a year just because of the commercial climate, the climate of it all. Just we wanted to see where the cards would fall, and actually, it's very interesting. We have to move in April of next year, but the same spaces that we looked at last year are still there.
Isn't that amazing?
That's amazing.
And that's just, I assume that, and it's obviously tangential to, home building. You just mentioned people are in their homes now. People now don't want to leave, which is good for remodeling, good for building.
Yes.
There's just this very interesting dynamic we find ourselves in. I'd be curious to know, I guess I don't know any builders outside the United States, but I'd be curious to know how, outside the U.S., how this has impacted corporate culture versus homes. But
yeah. So I was in Spain for work last October, and they're impacted as well, just a little differently. Same way. But more people are working from home overseas as well. More people are working from home. They're not going into the office. I think in Europe specifically, they're more conscious of COVID, and they're more apprehensive of what we just went through. Not to mention with the energy crisis in Europe too. It's right. It's a very interesting climate in Europe for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I always like to do you have a favorite quote as we wrap things up here?
My goodness.
Any quotes that come to mind?
That puts me on the spot.
Yeah.
No, I'm not really a great quote person. Sure. I just think that for me, people are key.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite book? What do you do for self-education and for kind of continuing education for yourself? Are you a podcast listener?
I do a ton of podcasts. Okay. Mental Mindset is one of the ones that I love.
Yeah.
I really like to tease my brain about how do you compel people and work with people and lead them and pull them along versus, that micromanagement feeling. And while, I still have an end result, I know where I need to get, but I'm going to help you get there.
Yeah. I like that. And what's kind of fun and upcoming personally for then the next year? You got anything kind of fun and exciting?
Oh my goodness.
I know we're in the middle of summer and you've got a busy household.
We have a busy household. We have 6 children. So, summers are busy for us. We have lots of sports. My son races motocross, so that's always fun. It's crazy. So, we'll be traveling quite a bit for him this year. And, everyone's just great. It's just, I enjoy my family a lot. Yeah.
Well, it was beautiful to have you on. Thank you for sharing your story. Thanks. And I love hearing it. And we'll be seeing you obviously more in the next year as we get to work together.
Absolutely.
All right. If you want to hear more, you can check out Kate. I guess so the Scout Guide, some of your social handles. You've got the Scout Guide, Minneapolis.
Scout Guide Minneapolis. You can find us on Instagram. Yep. And then Cities Management, just www.citiesmanagement.com, all spelled out.
And we'll have everything in the show notes as well. And thanks again for coming on. And
thank you.
If you like the show, please rate and review and give the Scout Guide Minneapolis a follow. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Kate.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to the Curious Builder podcast. If you like what you listen to, please give us a 5-star rating and write us a review. It really means a lot. It's a great way for us to just understand what you like about the podcast and what we can keep doing. So like and review, and please share with your friends and family. Find out more at curiousbuilderpodcast.com.